Good afternoon, everybody. Here we are. 20 episodes later. And I don't even know how many since we began the HD Origins collection. We are here at the finale episode of ETRIAN Odyssey 4 Legends of the Titan original lore playthrough. Let's get some numbers up real quick. 158 pages. 70,491 words. All written from scratch. Planned since about a year and a half ago. Started since about mid-August. And tonight we are going to hopefully reach 100% completion on the original difficulty of the very first game that introduced me to this franchise. We won't be done with the series. We'll still have 5 in Nexus. And I don't expect tonight to be perfect, because I am so full of nerves right now. But I expect that at the end of this episode, you all will sit there gaping maws going, how is none of this actually part of the game? Steel, I did debate waiting a week so that this would happen on almost Christmas. But you know what? I would rather you all have a chance to enjoy yourselves. So it is, I've told a couple people, I've said, I don't expect anything as intense as the climax scenes. But my goal is that at some point tonight, every single one of you is going to go, what the fuck? There's still more? So, that is my personal goal tonight. I'm gonna check something real quick. Okay. All right. I had to set up some spacing to make sure it works. I also want you all to know that I promised I was going to have everyone back at level 99 in time for the true final boss, and I succeeded at 3:11 p.m. today. But just to show you, we're gonna go to organize. 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99, 99. Everyone at max level. I do need to see... Hold on. Okay. I need to see... Oh, I know where I can grab this. Hold on. There we go. Don't mind me bringing this in. It's a surprise scene that'll help us later. The wiki versions are so fucking tiny. They're so tiny for no good reason. All right, cool. So here's our plan for today. We have everything else done besides the true final boss. To show you real quick, by going to our menu right here, Monstrous Codex, completely done, except for the true final boss and all of their extra enemies. The item compendium, completely done, except for the true final boss's drop. Food, completely done. Treasure book, completely done. Guild card. We have all of the main story medals, all the burst skills, all the treasure boxes, all the quests done, enough rare monsters, all the food. Again, these will be all once we finish the monsters and the items. All the hidden treasures in the world. This is from beating the true final boss, and this is from beating all the bosses on normal difficulty. So, if I have it correct, then by defeating the true final boss and turning in its drop, we will have 100% completion of the game. So my plan is that we're going to go do the fight. We do have to technically solve the puzzle and see if I got it correct. We have to fight the true final boss. I am hoping, if push comes to shove, I will just beat the boss. But I am secretly hoping to finish it with one specific move, both thematically and narratively. But we'll see what happens. We will fight the boss, kill it, get the drop. As soon as we are done with the fight and the text boxes are done, we enter cutscene mania. That's right, the cutscenes begin even before we turn in the final item. We will continue to do all the cutscenes, and then once it is over, and you will know once it is over, I am going to end stream immediately afterwards. That is just for the sake of the VOD having a finishing point. However, about 30 seconds later, after I end stream, I'm going to start it back up, and that is so that we can collectively breathe, reminisce, talk about favorite moments. I almost decided I was just going to end stream and not bring it back, but Kate beat me over the head with the prospect that maybe I should open myself up to people giving kudos. So if you all feel so inspired, I would like to give you that opportunity. Thank you, Kate. Or screw you, Kate.
Hee hee.
This feels weird because literally all we need to do is just go straight to the final area. Oh, I have to... The fourth land, okay. Kate.
Yeah?
This might be one of the last times you hear this song.
It's gonna be the last time I see my little guys. Where are they?
You want to say goodbye to your little guys?
Yeah. Yeah, my little guys!
I love them. They're my favorite part. That's my favorite character, little guys.
Da, da. So, as we're walking through this labyrinth, because we still need to collect all the resources for the final fight. Any moments leading up to now that you all really enjoyed?
Nope.
Nope. Dude, Adelaide has 666 health.
I love Adelaide.
Hell hath no fury like an old woman scorned.
Damn right. This is why old ladies are the best.
I want to be Adelaide when I grow up.
Right?
Oh my god,
By which
Flo,
I mostly just mean I want a really big sword.
Flo has 6'7".
Oh god damn it.
Color, can we be old gossipy ladies together?
I would want nothing more. I'm already
Can we-
7 years old.
Let's like go to an onsen and just like spill the
Okay.
tea.
Yes.
So I spent the better part of this afternoon trying to remember how Punnett squares work.
Oh my god.
Whatever the thing is, the logic puzzle that's like, you need to figure out what order colors go with each other. So I think I'm gonna have to open up like a notepad and like take notes on this.
That's old school gaming, baby.
Did you forget how colors mix together?
Yes. No, the order.
I was
So-
gonna say, you've got a great person here to help you with
I'm
colors.
just saying.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna open up a notepad thing here. Let's bring this up and theorize in chat.
Alright.
Open. Okay, I'm gonna actually bring in the window capture of this, and we're gonna discuss together. There we go. All right. So let's shrink this over here. All right. So we have 5 colors. We have green. All right. We have red. I'm gonna actually make this a bit bigger. There we go. Okay. We have white. We have yellow. And we have... Where's our last one? I'm missing one. And blue. Okay. So now we need to write the notes. The little hints that we were given. So first of all, we have... Bug too dangerous. Green and white first. Okay.
Okay.
Green not before red. Okay, that works.
Okay.
Red not before green. Okay.
So far, okay.
Green not before yellow. Okay.
Okay, that makes it trickier.
Blue not next to... Like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Yes! We know! Green's first! Yellow not before green. Okay. Yellow not next to blue. White not next to yellow. Okay, this might be what solves it. Yellow is not next to blue. White is not next to yellow. Okay, so next to here has to be either red or blue. It needs to be blue. Because if, for example, if we did red, then it would be either blue, yellow, or yellow, blue. And we can't do that because of this hint that says yellow not next to blue. So, logically, we would have blue, then red, then yellow. So let's double check this. Green and white first. Okay. Green not before... Oh, does it mean it can't be directly before red, or does it mean it can't be before red at all? I think I had to generalize it, but in the hints, it simply said, seems to have no effect when injected directly after blank. So... Okay.
Yeah, because green can't be first if it's, like, not before
Red,
red.
not before green, right?
Like, those two absolutely contradict each other.
Right. Okay. Injection red. Injection white, okay. Injection blue. It just seems like it's a... Okay, the reason why it concerns me is because... there's like 4 different hints out of the 7 that all mention something that can't be next to green. And then it just says green and white go first. Like, okay, but we might as well go green and white first. Okay. Green not before red. If we assume that I generalized it and it was just like it can't be right before red, that's still correct. Red not before green. Okay, that still works. Blue not next to green. Still works. Yellow not before green. Definitely works. Green not before yellow. That works as long as it's not generalized. White not next to yellow. Okay. And yellow not next to blue. Okay. I mean, logically, it makes sense. So, we might as well start with this, because it works as is. None of them are false hints. No, this is not like Rouge the Bat's space stage in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Attach the tube extending from the device to the mouth of the canister. The device activates automatically. You take a few deep breaths while you wait. Quiet chime dings. It seems the green chemical has been injected into your canister. There is currently 1 type of chemical injected into your canister. Okay. Next is white, and that is directly below us. Right now, Red Penguin, so there's a giant puzzle on this floor that is basically, here's this really strong bug that has a party wipe instant kill attack, but if you can solve this very complex color logic puzzle, you can reduce its health and also prevent it from being able to use that skill. Okay. Next one is blue. That's yellow. That's red. Blue is going to be over here. Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to access it unless we freeze the room. The next 2, we have to freeze the room to get access to them. Oh, wait, is that blue? Oh, blue's right there. Okay. We still need to go over there anyway, so... Oh, actually, I know what we can do. Okay. Just because I don't know which is going to block my path if I do this. So, Tuba, this is... not so much spoilers anymore, because this has been shown throughout the other games that we played. Most ETRIAN Odysseys take place after a great cataclysm. Like, something has activated or a monster has ravaged the world, and thousands of years of technological progress has been eradicated or otherwise buried. In the first game, we actually learned that the second-to-last dungeon of the game was the buried remains of the civilization that existed before ours. And it was, like, implied to be Shinjuku of Japan. So... or Shinjuku. That's how you say it, right, Color?
You're American. It's fine.
Sakura?
Sakura.
Naruto. That's my favorite anime.
Sasuke.
Sasuke. Naruto.
I said that already.
Oh.
Listen to me.
I couldn't hear you because of the panic music.
Okay. They were panicking because I said Naruto.
I mean, if an orange jumpsuit ninja, you know, like jumped out at me, I'd panic too.
Oh, I hate that, Vim. Ooh, Mama Sume.
Yeah.
Sume is so funny to me.
No.
I swear they did it on purpose.
Ooh, Mama Sumi.
They did it on purpose. That's my little tinfoil hat.
What does the full thing Umamusume translate to? I only know the word for horse.
Pretty horse derby.
Okay, so no. So well, that's the full title. But Masume is like daughter or like young girl.
Oh,
right? It's a
okay.
very that's a literal translation. So when you put something as Musume next to something next to like an animal, it's like a horse. Like Uma is horse girl basically, or horse, you know.
That
or
makes
that kind of thing. Goral. It's always weird because there's like no easy way to put it in the same way where someone's like, oh well, what's that thing that you always say at the end of like workplaces, you know, like, oh, otsukare-sama, and it's like, technically, a general translation with that would be like, good job, you did good work. But a literal translation is like, you look tired, therefore, you know, go home, or you did good. But language is weird. So the game name is literally just Horse Girls. Like, legitimately, that's really what it is, yes.
It's like the name of a Barbie game. I love it.
What you get is on the tin. I don't know how to explain it to everyone. Dude, I work at Dice and we were required to say that to each other at the end of the nights as catter patches. Let's go to Soma. You look tired. Good job. You did well.
What's the one that you say when you're like on the other end of like coming into work and everyone there's like a really long like formal way, but everyone just goes like os.
Oh, ohayo gozaimasu. It's like literally good morning. Ohayo.
Oh, and then everyone just shortens it 'cause yeah.
And then, so here's the funny thing about like Japanese language in terms of that. So when you go in the morning, you say ohayo, and then gozaimasu is like the formal thing that you say in terms of like any sentence. So like arigato gozaimasu. It's that nice little, oh, you're putting that extra formality
like the
on.
formality thing, yeah.
Including
And
this
so-
most... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
Including this most recent injection, your canister is now filled with 5 types of chemical. Sorry, I thought there was going to be more to say, like, oh, there's no more room for anything or something.
Oh. So, which most people say ohayo, as in like good morning, right? If you're doing this day in and day out, and every freaking morning you're gonna be as peppy as ever, all your tired coworkers being like, ohayo gozaimasu, they're gonna look at you and be like, I am so done with this. So everyone in their tired state and just like, look, it's a formality, we're just gonna say it, has shortened down to zos.
I love that. I love that. It's just like, it's like the Japanese like, sup.
Exactly.
I don't even say hi to people when I go to work. Like, I do not speak unless spoken to, and I may or may not make eye contact.
Oh god, back when I still had a normal 9-to-5 job and an office to go to, I was that person who was like, good morning, everybody! And they were like, who, how, do you have energy? And I'm like, I'm a morning person, hi everyone.
Oh, Steel
Nah.
saying when your boss walks in, you give the full gozaimasu or woe be upon you.
Oh, yeah. That I
Yes.
do.
All right, y'all. Go ahead.
Oh boy!
All right, so let's figure out what stuff we are bringing into this fight. Since I don't think I'm going to end up using the petrification, because I assume the true final boss is going to be immune to something that would instantly kill them. Let's claim some goods. Okay, so we want a couple full heals. We definitely want several full TP restores. We need some hamao. We want as many full nectars as we can give ourselves. Madara, maybe. I don't know if we're gonna have a line that's damaged enough that we need to do that. Nullifies debuffs. Yes, that is worth having just in case they do something that, like, reduces our defenses or massively reduces our attack. We want something that's gonna nullify all enemy buffs. Yes. In case they buff themselves. Inventory's full. Okay, what else can we store? We can get rid of the medicas. We can get rid of the basic nectars. Okay. We can get rid of the basic Madaras. Theriakas, we're going to probably want 5 of each just to be safe. Formaldehyde no longer matters. Okay, that will give us way more access to things. Our good old Ariadne thread.
What's Adelgas?
It can panic the enemy.
S. Adelaide's toots bottled up.
All right, let's see what we got. One more Ariadne thread just in case.
When you get to a certain age, it becomes hard to contain, okay?
I'll give myself 2 or 6 Nectar 2s to be safe. Amrita 3. I mean, I'm glad that we have 6. I'll give myself 1 more just because who knows how much we're going to run out during this fight. What's my current inventory at? 47. Okay.
Steel's dropping extra lore in chat.
Grammar coders.
Thank you. This is trash. Thank you. Heals a moderate amount of HP for a line. I feel like it's not going to heal that much. We'll have 5 each of these. Bravant may be worth having in case we aren't able to buff someone's attack and we want to just throw it on at the last second. I guess we can do the same with the Stonard. Okay. What's our item count at? All right, we can add 3 more. I'd say... I feel like if someone's on death's door, we want to have more stuff to fully heal them versus something else. So, okay. We're gonna sleep to the evening. The closer we get to this fight, the more scared I get.
It's gonna be fun. I actually don't know anything about this fight, but it's gonna be fun.
Mark Grand Court. Not this. No, the effect is when I go here. So the final question becomes, which food item do we give ourselves heading into it? So throughout the game, I had been using the furry goat, which was a strength boost, an HP boost, and vitality. The problem being those are boosts to our core stats. And at level 99, retired back to 99, a lot of characters have vitality very high already, or especially strength very high already. So it would be completely wasted on Flo, who's already at max strength. It would be mostly wasted on Adelaide, who's almost at max strength. Somewhat wasted on Caliba, who's already at close to max strength. And there are 3 main DPS of the party. Vitality, really, Marnie's the one that needs to tank the most hits, and she's got the maximum amount of vitality. So rather than just effectively only getting 80 bonus HP, we have 2 main options. There is a fish in the 4th land that gives a tier 2 resistance to all 3 elements. That's pretty good, as long as the boss is using an elemental ability. However, I am going to go with something else, and it will make sense in a moment once I grab it. It is ironically the fish that they recommend you grab before you fight the Ice Drake, because that fish gives you good resistance to all of its special ailments that it tries to inflict, which includes instant death and sleep resistance. Both of those are very scary to have happen during the fight, because if the boss has a weak attack that has a chance of inflicting instant death and it triggers, good news for him, bad news for you, you just lost a party member and whatever they were going to do that turn to a status ailment. Instant death is treated as a status ailment. It's just the effect of the ailment is you die immediately. Sleep is equally dangerous because while the person's asleep, not only are they unable to act, but they will take, I believe, 50% extra damage from whatever attack next hits them. So something that may be barely survivable may become a one-hit KO when someone is asleep. So that is the main plan. So we'll have resistance against one element and a pretty hefty resistance to it. But my main goal in this fight is, as long as someone stays alive, they're going to have HP regen going throughout the fight. This also means if Marnie ends up tanking, I assume what would be a multi-hit attack that each has a chance of inflicting instant death, besides the chance to dodge, we want her to avoid any chance of being instantly killed and us losing our single best means of blocking hits for the rest of the party. So I'm gonna wait to showcase what the party build is until I have evidence that our color puzzle worked out correctly, because if it didn't, then I need to figure out another alternative order. If it does, then I might as well show everyone my build before I go in for the fight.
Yeah, show us your build.
Do you have your possum shirt on?
I do.
Cute.
Because doesn't the Sremnir Inn have a possum?
Possum play! Yeah.
All right, here we go. With the canister you found in hand, you revisit the device at the edge of the hall. To your satisfaction, you confirm a connection between the canister and the device. Just above the device is a cavity the same size and shape as the canister. It seems this device is meant to spray the contents of the canister into the next room. Compound is volatile. Its effects will only last while you are on this floor. Do you still wish... I'm so glad I waited and stocked up before coming down here, or I would have had to do this all over again. If you do this, the canister will be emptied of its contents. Are you sure? You attach the canister to the device and pull at the lever. You wait with bated breath. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream of agony sounds from the next room. It seems that the compound you released into the room had quite an effect on its inhabitant. You are free to muster your courage and venture into the room. Okay! It looks like that was the correct answer! That is a very good sign. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I cannot... Oh my god! I'm not ready for this to be over!
Don't worry, you gotta beat the guy first.
I know.
Yup.
All right, so here is all of our party. Flo is a Lance Connect subclass Bushi. He is one of the main DPS of the party. His main goal is to get up Vanguard so that he moves first before everything else, because that not only boosts his power, but reduces the enemy's defense and evasion. That's significant for a reason that will become clear when we get to Caliba. He also has a passive that will protect the front line by potentially reducing incoming physical damage by 50%. He also has a passive that increases his defense when he equips 2 weapons. He does have 2 weapons equipped, and this is for a reason on Bushi. Shockwave is the only access that Flo has to a multi-target attack. If the boss is going to have multiple things up at the same time, this is the way that Flo can contribute to DPS when it's not a single target. We are hoping that Blood Surge activates at the start of the fight. It is a permanent status effect until he dies, and if it doesn't activate right away, we can always use an ability to force him into Blood Surge. It just means we wouldn't have to waste a turn to do it. His physical attack power increases when he has 2 weapons equipped. Basically, we want to buff up his attack as much as possible and then unleash a link attack, because with every building link, it will do more and more damage. Those of you who watched the previous stream saw me do about 15 to 20,000 damage to the dragon, because the bonus link attacks were doing 1,100, 1,400, 1,600, 2,000. It was significant. Adelaide is our single target DPS. She is really just kind of using her drives. We may have an initial setup of, use Hawkeye to reduce the enemy's defense, use Runic Gleam to boost her own elemental offense, and then let loose with a drive. As a repurposed 99, she now has something to work towards, because every time she overheats her blade, she's going to do more damage the next time around. And after she has overheated her blade at least twice, she can activate a skill called Ignition, which means for 3 turns, she can just spam drive moves because it won't overheat. However, if she chooses to end Ignition early, she can do so by activating Overdrive, which is an untyped multi-target attack that at max level has a... to give you an idea, at max level, each of these have a modifier of 780% damage. At max level, Overdrive has a starting modifier before any buffs or debuffs of 1,000% base damage. So, I would really like if Adelaide could be the one to finish the fight with this move. It's a little tricky, because I have to assume Ignition can be used anytime after I've hit the prerequisites, but if I have to time all the skills, it's going to be really difficult. And then as a subclass Rune Master, she has a bunch of buffs to her TP, a bunch of buffs to elemental abilities, the chance to nullify an elemental attack to the front line. Her damage increases when striking an enemy's weakness, and she also has a small, but not zero, chance of getting to use her skills for free. Yay. Marnie, the piece de la resistance. The dancer who has already shown that they can tank all 5 hits of an elemental dragon's party wipe elemental breath and dodge all of them. Most of what Marnie's going to be doing is either setting up regen waltz to heal HP, freedom waltz to heal binds, or refresh waltz to heal ailments at the end of each turn, or attack tango if we're going on the offensive. Her other passives as a dancer are to boost her evasion rate. Hopefully, if we are going to be using a burst move, we have a chance of spending 1 less than we would have. And every time she acts, or every time a waltz, tango, or samba is in effect, the burst gauge will fill faster. I do plan to use the burst gauge if necessary to heal my team throughout the fight. As the mainline fortress, when necessary, we're going to be putting up Strike Guard or Element Guard to protect against physical or elemental strikes, but really what I'm going to be spamming is Party Shield. Party Shield at max rank provides a, think 30% damage reduction, and also forces all hits to the party to land on Marnie instead. But anytime Marnie takes a hit, whether or not she dodges it, she gets 5 SP back. So if we take 4 or more hits in a single turn, as long as she survives, she will make back what she spent on this skill, and she could spam it every single turn. What's even better is, she has a chance to block any type of attack made against her while she's on the front line. So, hopefully, this is why I wanted to have protection against sleep and instant death, which are, other than panic, the only 2 status ailments that can guaranteed prevent her from taking action during a turn. The fun TP battery skills, yes. Selene is our setup. He is going to be probably the biggest TP hog of the entire fight. We have a chance to inflict paralysis. We have a chance to inflict panic. We can reduce attack of all enemies, reduce defense of all enemies. He's going to be most useful against parts of the fight where there are many enemies on screen, because he can set up for all of them to take more damage or deal less. I imagine most of the boss is going to be immune to most status ailments, but I'm going to hope that at least the additional enemies are not immune to everything, and that they are susceptible to either panic or paralysis. He has a chance of nullifying a bind or status ailment for allies on the back line, since he's in the back line. That's good if it prevents Caliba from being prevented from doing her DPS setup. And he has a naturally extremely high chance. He has the max potential chance of inflicting those ailments. Both his magic power and his luck are maxed out at 99. He also is running a subclass as a medic. Very straightforward. Party heal is fully maxed out. Heal mastery is maxed out. We also went ahead and maxed out auto revive and auto heal. They're not as potent as they would be if he were a main class medic, but the idea of him being subclass is that his passive regenerative healing is stronger this way than if he was a main class medic. So really, the auto heal and auto revives are just bonuses if they happen, but he will be very TP heavy. And then finally, Caliba. Caliba has three purposes. First, she is set up for flow. She is the one that drops the enemy's defense, and then also Squall Volley, which is, I believe, anywhere from 8 to... Or, no, at max level, it's 9 to 17 hits. 9 to 17 relatively inaccurate hits, I should say. But each activation of the skill can trigger up to 4 additional link attacks. If she triggers her Nightseeker Follow Trace and does Squall Volley a second time, it won't do as much damage, but it can trigger up to another 4 link attacks, and that's where the damage really stacks up. She has maxed out head, arm, and leg binds in case for some reason we're trying to block an enemy from using a certain skill. She has maxed out all her criticals so that even though her skills don't do very much, they are critting hopefully all the time. And finally, just as a bonus, she has a chance to start the battle automatically cloaked, so she will not take a hit while she is doing her setup. Yeah, I think that's pretty much straightforward. I almost forgot one last thing, and I'm glad I didn't forget it before I went into the fight. We no longer have use for Holy Gift. I will keep Black Mist. I'm going to show real quick. Black Mist, if an enemy has a bind or an ailment, it will last longer than it would have naturally. I don't know how useful they're going to be during this fight, but God forbid one lands, we want to keep it on as long as possible. Aegis Shield is just a panic button. It's if we're doing pretty well, but I feel like the boss is about to use a really strong attack, or I want to make absolutely sure that no one is interrupted, this is a way of guaranteeing that. Triumph Song, if I'm on the offensive or if I need to buy extra time, this is my way of boosting my attack and defense significantly for a turn. If I am on Death's Door, but I somehow have a full bar, this is a get out of jail free card that will revive, fully heal, and fully remove any ailments or binds from the entire party. So what I'm going to replace Holy Gift with is... I would rather use Geo Impact than Supernova because it's a guaranteed stun. And if that buys me extra time at the beginning or at a turn where I need to heal or buys me a setup turn, guaranteed stun is a huge deal. So if we fail the boss, I just need to make sure that when I come back in, I need to set this up and then save again before I continue on. Okay. Compound you released a moment ago drifts into the hall as a fine mist. The insectile thing seems to be in too much pain to move. You have succeeded in weakening it. There will never be a better time to challenge it in combat. But beware, even in its weakened state, it is a threat beyond the capacity of human understanding. Oh my god. I forgot I had written that. Oh my god. That's so funny. All right, here we go, y'all. The true final super boss of ETRIAN Odyssey 4 and the one last obstacle on my way to 100% completion. I'm gonna try binding its head. I'm gonna assume it's gonna try and choose something. Yeah, we'll do the same thing here. Nice. Nice! All right, we blocked it from moving. Or we blocked it from using its head move. Okay. Might as well kill it with fire. No, actually, I'm gonna see if we can finish it on this turn. I'm assuming it's got a second. Oh, of course it has a second form. All right, I don't know how much damage this is gonna do, but let's see. Okay, that did not do as much as I was hoping. I'm gonna heat sink. I'm basically trying to get my bar to maximum before we get to the next phase of the fight. Uh-huh. Oh, okay. Okay. This is great. This is really good. So now we can use Charge Edge. Okay. All right. Yep. We're gonna basically set up for this next turn after this. Here we go. The ultimate life form bursts forth from its larval body. This is a good start. This is a fantastic start. Okay, so we've got Immoral Bud, Conceited Bud, Cowardice Claw, Covetous Claw, okay. I can block all damage on this turn and just go for it. Oh, wait, no, I can do this too. I can block damage. I can stun all of them. I should assume we're not going to take them out in a single turn, so we're just going to stun them. All right, this should hopefully do a shitload of damage. We've got Vanguard, we've got attack boost. We charged up our attack. We're gonna lower everything's defense. Yes. And we're gonna go for damage across this entire group. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Oh my god, I don't want this to be over. He needs to open his eye. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Oh, we've got one turn of full charge. What's up? Okay. Okay. Good activations, good activations. Look at that damage! Look at that damage! Oh my god! Oh my god! Hold on! Hold on! The setup? The maximum damage? We're not dead! Oh my god. Adelaide, Adelaide, please. Adelaide, please. Oh my god, I'm like, I hope I don't overdo it with this. She's got the Brevant. We've got the attack tango. She's gonna do more damage. Marty's still alive! We just gotta do it one more time. Okay, so unfortunately, I don't think we'll get to do it with Overdrive, but it's okay. Marnie, I just need you to survive one more time. Please. Please finish this. Come on, Adelaide. Hold on, I need to make double sure. Come on, Adelaide! Oh, she can't. She's gonna miss. Shit. Oh, this might be death. Nope. Okay. I'm kind of nervous. I think it's about to do something really big, so I'm gonna block this attack. I'm like shaking right now. Oh, shit. It brought everything back. Okay. Come on, Marnie. Come on, Marnie. Good miss. Come on, Marnie. can do the setup. We can do it one more time. Hold on. Yes. Oh my God. We just need one more turn. And she can use overdrive one last time. Adelaide! Send us home, buddy! The quick step to ensure she goes first. Here we go. Yes! Oh my God. You destroy the central core of the abomination of vines and leaves, and the thing eventually stops moving. Your unbending will has overcome the malevolent incarnation of plant life that surpassed human understanding. No other registered guild could possibly have accomplished such a feat. The thing to do now is to return to Tharsis and deliver an account of the unknown battle to the Outland Count.
You did it!
How's the text for everyone? Is it visible? Is it good? Here we go. For perhaps the first time since darkness and sorrow had claimed the blood-soaked corridors of that ancient hall, the walls trembled with an echo of jubilation as the party celebrated their monumental victory. Their weapons clattered to the hard surface of the ground as they embraced each other in exultation, cries of relief mixed with exclamations of praise to each other over moments they had witnessed during the course of that final trial. It was Selene who, in the midst of all the noise, caught sight of Adelaide nearby. Unlike the others, her frame still rigidly stood in its battle stance as before, her back to them as she faced the emptiness that the warped savior once completely filled. It was almost certain that she was yet unconvinced their battle was finally over. I understand your concern, the Arcanist warmly spoke aloud in her direction, but for once it's unneeded. The malicious intent I felt in this room has completely disappeared. There's truly nothing that remains here. As the others took notice shortly after, Flo chimed in, Adelaide, it's okay! We won! You can relax now. There's no way that thing survived a blast like that.
Of course he didn't.
Came her reply at first, tinged with a breathy exhaustion expected of someone her age after such an intense battle. But as her head and torso turned to face them, however, the rest of her did not. The sheer intensity of her finishing blow, combined with the initial rebound of the creature's flesh before her blade cleaved through it to the ground beneath, had all but liquefied the contents of her legs, which simply crumpled beneath her in response to her sudden movement.
He's not a student of mine.
So too did her own weapon finally clatter to the floor to join the rest, her body collapsing next to it as the harsh clang of metal rippled through the room unchallenged. In the silence that followed, prompting, Calaba's startled gasp felt more chilling than any scream that could have followed it, prompting an equally horrified Marnie to grasp her hand in solidarity. Color, if you'd take care of that, please. It was Del who finally sprung into action, reaching into his coat with urgency as he hurried over to where the Imperial now laid. We need to get her to a clinic, now, he implored to the rest of the guild, as he took a vial out from deep within his pockets and hastily injected its contents into her. A sedative meant to stave off the sudden onset of extreme pain and shock for however long as possible. Not enough to prevent it, but long enough to buy them precious few minutes to act. Flo, get us home! Understanding the gravity of the situation, the guild leader motioned to the others before rushing to join Dell and pulling out the thread that would get them where they needed to go. Holding it aloft, a bright light began to envelop the group as the rest of the atrium bathed in its overwhelming presence. And Adelaide, her vision rapidly losing clarity as she watched her world turn to white, could only muster the energy to look up at the faces surrounding her as she thought to herself,
Please, smile for me.
The creatures of the shadows, who had followed those sounds of fresh prey through the labyrinthine halls, rounded corners to find the atrium devoid of life. Once again, their salvation was already gone. The very moment that the party returned to Tharsis, they made their way to the Seremnir Inn. There, a welcoming Dala, who was just as confused and concerned to hear about the experience as they had been to witness it, nonetheless managed to bring them some small comfort through her calmness as she set about preparing the rooms for them all. Though they protested in defense of Adelaide's condition, she insisted that they needed the rest just as much as she did. And only once Dell affirmed that the matter was stabilized for the time being did the rest of Guild Catalyst allow themselves to relent. And so, the following morning, how truly unfortunate, the Outland Count mulled as he shook his head lightly. For us to be meeting in this state of affairs, when by all other accounts we should be far more enraptured. Not all is lost, however, an optimistic Roland offered. Not only to himself, but to the rest of the group that gathered in the Mark Grand Court in tenuous hope. And we have you to thank for that. Don't worry, Vim, it's planned for. We're incredibly grateful that you responded so soon, despite our arrival so late into the evening. Were it not for your return, I myself would have ended up in her position soon enough, the Count replied. Not a muscle in my body was capable of relaxing the way I kept up and worry about you all, in the hopes I would see you come back safely. Even poor Margarita seemed to tremble in my arms as we stared out these windows waiting for you. He gave another gentle stroke along the dog's fur to accentuate this point, taking pause to allow himself a slow breath as he collected his thoughts. All right. But she is doing okay, isn't she? Marnie inquired. Won't she? Hold on. I was supposed to notify my dad that this stream was happening, and I forgot, so I gotta text him. Hold on. And now I can't find my phone. Where the hell is my phone? The beard over here? Seriously, where the hell did my phone go? You gotta be kidding me. Is it in my bag? Oh, I know where it is. Oi! Alright, that's my one mulligan that I'm allowed. And I'm already, like, broken out into a sweat because of it. Damn it. I really wanted him here for all of this. And I forgot. Alright, there we go. Sorry, I forgot. Okay. Here we go. But she is doing okay, isn't she? Marnie inquired. Won't she? Were I to have a medical bone in my body with which to give you an answer, my dear, the Count sadly replied. We've treated many a soldier with many an injury, but rarely one so severe, and never successfully one on someone of her age. Whatever possibility exists for her to survive, there's a much greater chance that... Can't we see her, sir? Flo pleaded. She's been with us through the worst of it all. Maybe having us at her side will help her chances. Under any other circumstance, I would wholeheartedly agree with you. But unfortunately, I can't have anyone risk interfering with the recovery process. The Count noted, unsurprisingly, the mixture of disappointment and distress spread across the faces of the various guild members, before adding, however, I want to personally assure you that our best, brightest, and most befitting medal scholars have taken to her case. Why, we practically had ourselves a fire hazard with the number of bodies filling the room, seeking to volunteer their time and effort. For every ounce of care you all have for her, I promise you this fine city is ready to offer it tenfold. You have all done your jobs, and splendidly at that. Now allow me to see to it that ours is done as well. Though they hesitated at first, the members of Guild Catalyst slowly fell into agreement as they looked among each other and found faith in each other's resolute expressions. Flo, after nodding in approval to the rest of them, turned back to the Outland Count. In that case, I believe we have a report to make with you. Yes, I believe you do, the Count agreed. And though it pains me to do so without all of you present, I will do my best to uphold my duty as responsibly and professionally as I can all the same. He took one more deep breath before collecting a folder from his desk and opening it with his free hand as he addressed the members of Guild Catalyst once more. So, without any further delay, let us discuss. Oh, to hear that such a dreadful monster lurked in the Hall of Darkness is alarming, the Count sighs. But this awful thing, its origins must have been tied to the Heavenbringers. Had it been left alone, it would have caused tremendous calamity when it was eventually loosed. You have saved us yet again. For your meritorious service to Tharsis, Guild Catalyst, I present you with this. Oh? So you have finally filled all the pages of your logbook. This feat is, as far as I know, unprecedented. The white puppy in the Count's arms barks enthusiastically. Even Margarita is excited. Oh, I can't think of praise high enough for what you have accomplished here. The Count is reveling in your success as much as if it had been his own. I hope you realize what a momentous achievement this is. By the way, if it's all right with you, may I have a look at this wondrous logbook? What say you? Ah, excellent. Show me, starting with the very first page. And don't skimp on the commentary. The Count's eyes shine as you open the logbook for him, and he breathes in with wonder at the accrued knowledge. And this credits can only happen when you've 100% finished the game. We should give out some prints, shouldn't we?
Yes.
So, as a reminder to everyone, we have 2 different prints that Emmy and Color made for the climax scenes, and they are available for purchase. I will be giving out... How many? 1 each or 2 of each? You know what? We'll do 1 now and 1 after the whole thing is over, you know?
Sure.
Okay. So, we are going to be... This first one is going to be... We should do an entry system. So, if you would like to enter in to win a potential copy of the Flow Climax Battle Print made by Color Brews, please enter Go With The Flow.
All one word? In a sentence?
No, just, yeah. Just some form of Go With The Flow.
Oh, okay.
Doki Doki. Talon Sniper. Steel Helm. Steel, you live with her! Nobility.
He doesn't want to print?
Lucifer.
I want one for the house.
All bad jokes. I need a... Helen, Steel Helm, okay. Lausian, Krimmer. Pop Culture, Fan 03. Catter Patches. Skidium. Ragnar. Enjoy the scenery while I put these names in. Alright, I think I've got everyone. Vimdeklis, Doki, Talon, Steel, Nobility, Melucifer, All Bad Jokes, Lostian, Pop Culture, Catter Patches, Skidium, Ragnarok, Chance Chief. If you did not hear your name...
You missed me.
I missed you?
Again.
Okay.
That's the second time in a row you missed me.
You have until the credits are over, and then we will spin and get a winner. I'm a teeny bean, okay. Teeny, I hope you still have a drive left to go. We're not done yet.
Don't overdrive.
Oh. Oh.
All right, who's our winner?
It's not on stream if you're wanting it to be.
I know.
Okay.
Give me a chance, please. And our winner is... Melucifer. Melucifer! Are you here, and would you like to claim your, would you like to claim the color print? I will hide it, or I'll bring it up forth so you can see what it looks like again. This is the print that you would be claiming. Let me shrink this down. Oh my god, I have to click so many things just to get this. Here we go. Yes, please. All right. Same thing as always. Prove your that your Twitch account belongs to you and send me a DM. I will work with Color to get you a link to their shop. The easiest way would be that you purchase the print and then just show me the receipt, and I will refund you the cost of the print. That way you can get it in whatever size you want. You can make sure it's shipped correctly. All right. The second one that I'm giving out is the Flow family print, made by none other than Emmy Ain. I will keep everyone on the wheel. I'm going to assume you're also interested in this. If you would like to enter, please type in, go with the flow. You have about 30 seconds, and then I'm going to go ahead and spin the wheel. Same exact thing as last time. We will figure out a way to get the print from the shop and get it to you. Ideally, you purchase it, and then I will refund you the cost. CDI Games. Steel Helm 77. Oh, I already put Steel Helm in there. So I'll just delete you. Okay. Gigazispace. Okay. Is that everyone new? I think so.
Not another Esper.
Not another Esper. Ta-da. All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And our winner of the Emmy Ain print is... Oh! CDI Games! By a hair! You need to see how close this is. Look at how close...
That's kind of nuts.
Oh,
That's Vim level shit.
that's Vim level shit right there. CDI Games, would you like to claim the Emmy print? You would. Same thing as always. If you're a member of the Discord, please send me proof over DM of your account belonging to you, and we will work to get you hooked up with that print, y'all. We will have one more giveaway once we do. Remember, we have some more cutscenes, and then I'm going to end stream, and then I'm going to pop right back on so that we can celebrate together, and I'll also do another giveaway then. But in the meantime, save your cleared game. And with that, we actually turn this off. Because from here on out, we have other stuff. So let me hide this. Oh, that. And bring this back up. So many window captures that I'm trying to pay attention to. Because several weeks later, the vast expanse of the Golden Lair's cavern system felt so much bigger than it had ever been before. Now that Dell was walking through it alone, rather than with the others at his side. Oh, I have to bring this... I have to bring all of these above, or below these characters. So give me a second. Otherwise, they're not going to show up on top. Okay. Move that above. Move that above. Okay, one more. And one more. There we go. All right. The flowers he clutched in his hands, many of them a great distance away from their native soils, bristled lightly against the random gusts that snaked through between the rocky walls, with only the medic's hand to shield them from the icy wind as he made his way to the Sentinel Village's entrance. The guards standing at their posts recognized him right away, as they had many other times in recent weeks, and nodded subtly before moving aside to let him pass. He nodded in turn as he passed through and into the village, before spotting a familiar face of his own and walking up to greet it. Good to see you again, Miss Inari. I'm gonna move him aside a bit. Here we go. The Volpine Elder paused her idle activity to greet him in earnest.
Del, how wonderful to have you visit us once more.
She cooed, giving him an easy hug in lieu of how she otherwise would have held his hand were it not preoccupied.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, he replied simply. Flo wanted me to say thank you again, by the way. We had a chance to catch up the other day.
Is he not with you this time around?
The aged fox questioned in mild surprise. He said he had some unfinished business to attend to, Del replied. Actually, pretty much everyone does. Now that things have settled down for the moment, we're just making sure that loose ends are taken care of before we get wrapped up in any other big adventures.
I see. You all did seem eager to hurry along to your next pressing task each time you pass through here. Just be sure to make some time to exist with each other, will you?
She implored, nodding sagely to herself as she did so. I will, the medic replied warmly.
Good. Now, how about you? Are you here for another one of your visits?
If that's okay, ma'am. I wanted to bring some more of these. He offered the improvised bouquet up for her review. The various colored petals and still green stems, a sharp contrast to the earthen browns that surrounded them.
Oh, these are simply wonderful.
She replied with enthusiasm.
I'm sure they'll look lovely with the others. In that case, you'll find her where she's always been.
She gestured off in the direction Del had first been heading before their impromptu conversation, adding,
I'll let Kibagami know to look out for you in a little bit, so you can have some time to yourself.
The young polymath thanked her once more, and the two went their separate ways as he continued on to his original destination. I'm going to use this as a chance to change my screen so you all can get the music. My fun folks listening in the voice chat. There we go. Oh, not that. Not that. There we go. As he eventually made his way into a particular alcove of the village, a recessed opening not too far from the tree that marked the central plaza, the purpose of Del's visit at last came into view. There, clad in clothing much lighter and softer than she had come to be known for in days past, was Adelaide. Her body was motionless and unresponsive, even as Del approached. Oh, did I hide the text? There we go. Hey, Adelaide. It's me. I brought you something I think you'll like. He smiled quietly as he reached out to place the flowers against her, leaving his hand against her for a moment more, as the sporadic voices of the other villagers blended into the noise of the cave entrance nearby. I hope they help you get the rest you deserve.
Crivens, you're dramatic! Just because I'm resting me eyes doesn't mean that I'm rested at pace! What happened to bedside manners?
Although Adelaide's body sprung to life as she jumped to attention, the sudden movement didn't manage to surprise Del very much at all. This wasn't the first time she'd tried to pull such a prank on him, truthfully. But after the one instance where he did truly scare her awake, the medic was more careful than usual about checking in with her when it wasn't immediately obvious whether she was awake and alert. Sorry, you just looked so peaceful in the moment, he admitted. I didn't want to ruin whatever daydream you might have been having.
I had plenty of time for that with all the waiting around I've been doing.
She scoffed.
It's like these beasties been hibernating with how slow they like to take things.
That sounds wonderful, to be honest with you. Gives a tired body plenty of opportunity to rest and recover. He then stepped back to survey her as a whole, before asking, speaking of which, how are things feeling? Is there still any phantom pain? He gestured towards the lower half of her body, where a myriad of carefully wrapped bandages served as temporary end caps to what was once the midway point of her legs. She too gave them a once-over. She too gave them a once-over, before using a hand to brush some of her stray hairs that had fallen onto the fabric.
Ugh, nothing I cannot handle. And certainly nothing close to the hurt I used to inflict on others.
She sighed, stretching her arms above her head, as she briefly reminisced on that powerful feeling of letting loose a well-prepared drive.
Almost makes me wish I still had the blade in me hands. Almost.
Indeed, her drive blade was no longer anywhere to be seen. At least, not in its original form. But at Dell's behest, and with her permission, its refined metal had been melted down and repurposed. Now it supported her in an entirely different way, its gleaming curves making up the various parts of the wheelchair that she comfortably resided in.
Have to say, though,
She continued, shooting Dell an impressed smirk.
leave it to ye to remind me that it's never ever late to make a change.
And hopefully never too early to work on the next, Dell added. Here, take a look. Reaching into his coat, he pulled out what could be best described as a miniature prototype of Adelaide's own drive blade, fashioned instead into a sort of miniature ranged cannon. Its metal chassis, much the same as her wheelchair in composition, gave off crude reflections of the nearby village architecture as he presented it to her. It took a lot of trial and error, and thankfully we had the funds to cover all the repairs that had to happen along the way, he solemnly commented as an aside. But I was eventually able to figure out a way to recreate the drive system you used to charge your blade with elemental attunements.
You're saying now anyone can wield that kind of destruction?
A worried Adelaide questioned Dell. She eyed the device held out in front of her with more disdain than desire. I wouldn't worry about that, he assured her. I had to get special permission from the prince to work with your materials, even though they technically belonged to you in the first place. Then, tapping the part of the device that housed the elemental loading chamber, he continued. But see this part? In your drive blade, this section was blocked off, which meant only the pre-installed parts attuned to the elements could be activated and used. But now, in front of the newly retired Imperial, he tilted the device to its side and gave it a moderate tap, which caused several small vials to fall out from the compartment and into his open hand. We can swap them out.
And what does that mean?
Asked an increasingly curious Adelaide. It means, Dell replied, holding up one of the vials for her to more closely inspect, that we can change what we're using the drive system to enhance. Adelaide couldn't decide if she was enthralled or somewhat entertained by this prospect.
You ain't getting to follow what you're saying. It's not like you're planning to create an entirely new element, are you?
Who said anything about elements? Dell grinned, clearly prepared for that kind of question. Pretty much anything that can be condensed into these vials could be enhanced. A toxin that causes drowsiness could be made powerful enough to put even the biggest creature to sleep. Or maybe, he paused, pulling out one of his medicinal vials to hold it up against the loading chamber. A healing magic could be supercharged, well beyond its usual potency. Imagine, we could cure someone so thoroughly that they end up even healthier than before they got injured. For once, Adelaide didn't have a witty comeback or challenging question to offer him. She simply stared at the vial and the prototype, contemplating possibilities she'd never once considered. A chance, however small, that the force she'd come to rely on for destruction could be used to help those in need, without having to sacrifice something else in exchange. Was such a thing even possible? That being said, it does have its limits. Dell sighed with disappointment, standing up as he looked over the pieces of his invention for himself. For one, it can only enhance, not replace. No amount of healing magic is going to bring back what's already been destroyed if we're talking dead bodies or even just body parts. And a living creature still has its own systems to maintain and balance, so I don't expect that being healed over that homeostasis would be a permanent effect. It would go back to normal eventually. But still,
I think it's pure brawl, you brainiac.
came Adelaide's proud reply.
And didn't you mind that they cannot fix some things? And didn't need fixing anyway? This little change of my own has given me a lot of new things to appreciate.
She then glanced past Dell into the village beyond, smiling to herself.
Speaking of which, here comes a bunch of little ones right now.
Miss Adelaide! Miss Adelaide!
From just behind Dell, 3 of the village children, a deer and a kangaroo girl, alongside a scruffy tiger boy, came bounding up to just in front of the old woman. The delight on their faces could have lit up the surrounding area more than any torch. The young deer, in particular, was practically bouncing on her heels as she looked up at the waiting Imperial.
Miss Adelaide, we finished the quest you gave us! We found everything you asked for and then some!
Aye, did ye? You must really want to hear the story then.
Adelaide mused, in a warm voice that even Dell wasn't entirely prepared for.
Well, come on then. Let's have a look.
One by one, the children came up to share their spoils with her. As various flowers and rocks from the nearby area began to pile up in her lap, she traded them for the foreign plants that Dell had brought her not too long ago.
Now you make sure to give these a nice spot to rest, okay? They're not used to this cold weather. Say you'll give them extra love to keep them nice and toasty.
Oh, we will, Miss Lemonade, we will!
The tiger boy eagerly promised.
Now I'll take these gems as payment, and once you finish decorating with the flowers,
Adelaide said, as she handed the floral pieces back to the waiting children.
we can begin the story.
The flowers on Adelaide's dress, Dell realized, were not part of its original design. They had been added on, with the little adventurers showing exactly how as they quickly began working to fashion the newest additions to the fabric. She watched them with a tender appreciation all the while, only interrupting for the briefest of moments when a particular piece was being finicky enough to frustrate one of the children. But in time, they finished, and there she sat anew, adorned with enough flowers to rival even the garden at the base of the village's tree.
All right, is everyone all set and cozy?
Adelaide piped up, commanding their attention as they briefly fought each other for prime seating in front of her chair.
Today's tale is about the girl who faced off against the fury of the forest itself.
Sensing it was time for him to leave her to her own newfound task, Dell quietly turned to begin making his way back to the rest of the village. But no sooner had he faced the other direction than did he find another, much larger visitor standing before him.
She's quite the spinner of tales, isn't she?
Kimagami impressed in a hushed tone.
In fact, they almost rival those I used to hear from my own grandmother. Almost.
The two stayed for a minute longer to enjoy the start of her tale, before heading back together to work on the job that still awaited them. Hold on. I forgot one song. Ta-da. As Dell followed Kibagami to that very tree centered within the village square, the latter spoke succinctly to the problem that had called the medic out once more to the caves in the first place.
A lot happened in this cave over the past month,
He began.
and I'm thankful that none of our tribe appear to have suffered any ill effects. However,
He gestured to the tree, his voice taking on a sullen tone in the process.
I do not think our friend of the forest is faring so well.
Even within a cave full of ragged edges and imposing corners, the tree before them appeared arguably worse in comparison. Its withered leaves and sagging branches all but suggested that it was well on its way to the afterlife, if it hadn't already lost its core completely.
This tree reminds us of the beauty of the outside world, the one we were made to protect,
he continued.
It delights those of us too young to understand the dangers it had to brave, and gives hope to those of us who have learned what it takes to keep ourselves safe from them. I worry that if it does not survive...
I understand, Del replied, and I may be able to help. Although, I should warn you that any solution I provide may not be a permanent one. It's quite possible that this tree is already at the end of its natural lifespan, and in that case...
That is all right, little one,
the Bushi assured him.
So must all things we love eventually be lost to us. It is the loss that reminds us what love feels like. I only ask that you offer what you can.
Del nodded. In that case, I'll offer you everything I have to give. And then some. As the villagers began to crowd around the weakened tree to watch his work take place, Del calmly took out the prototype. Sorry, I was trying to adjust something in the side, and it wasn't working. Del calmly took out the prototype once more, along with one of his medicinal vials, loading the latter into the chamber as he wished a silent prayer to nowhere in particular. Then, aiming it as best he could towards the base of the large plant, he exhaled a long, slow breath, before allowing himself to pull the trigger. With a loud whir, the mechanisms within the prototype activated with a fervor, building from a small series of clicks into an almost orchestral grinding as the vial's contents were drained, and a verdant aura trailed along the barrel of the device. Then, just as it felt as though the prototype were more likely to suffer a catastrophic malfunction, the aura sharply condensed into a focused sphere and fired straight into the tree, absorbing into its bark on contact. The echo bounced off the cavern walls before all returned to silence, and for what felt like several slow seconds, the village waited in unsure anticipation. Kibagami looked to Del, but the medic did not look back. Instead, his eyes remained focused squarely on the target just ahead, refusing to give up as long as hope still remained. So too, then, did the Bushi return to looking at it as well, whispering his own prayer as a younger villager huddled under him for assurance. Then, before Del's eyes, the same aura that had encased the prototype began to coat the entire surface of the tree, crawling along its bark bit by bit as its color seemed to return to the grooves. Much like Yggdrasil itself, the once withered plant began to shimmer with renewed life, sagging branches picking themselves up even as beautiful flowers added their tiny weights through budding blossoms that drew awed gasps from all who looked upon them.
Mommy, it's beautiful!
That one comment, from a child no longer able to keep their happiness to themselves as they eagerly shared it to their mother, stirred the gleeful murmuring that followed. And soon enough, the village was alive again with jubilant commentary about what was transpiring. Soon chuffs turned to chatter, then chattered to cheers, and before Del knew it, a spontaneous celebration had erupted among the population. He himself was unable to speak, even in the wake of his successful experiment. But as he turned to Kibagami, who gazed upon him with a sort of grateful pride only one of his stature could offer, the young scholar realized that, in this moment at least, it was worth simply admiring his results before he set about studying them. And so he gazed upon the leaves in quiet appreciation, their shimmering reflected in his eyes like newborn stars, as the village's rising volume carried itself out beyond the cave, and well into the cold air of the world outside. Meanwhile, elsewhere nearby, though the stars seemed to shine even brighter through the calm of the night sky this time around, their light couldn't possibly hope to penetrate the dense brush of the misty ravine. Its thick miasma, still just as present as ever, thanks to the moisture kept in by trees that shelter the ground below from once overwhelming pollution, littered the air with a fine layer of water that dampened all nearby sound. Perhaps it was because of that very feature that Caliba now stood in the grove where she was, her eyes locked on a stationary, inanimate target on the other side of the clearing.
Again.
She curtly commanded herself, before letting loose a shot that sailed across to embed itself in the target a moment later. The arrow joined several others of its kind, scattered along in various spots that didn't appear to have any particular rhyme or reason as to their placement. This didn't seem to bother the sniper, however, who exhaled gently as she returned from her aiming position to a more neutral stance after that final addition to her volley.
Better, but not good enough.
"Is your training going well, Caliba?" came a voice from behind. Through the rustling of nearby bamboo, a familiar arcanist made his way to join her in the open space between the walls of the chutes, his staff clicking against the earth as he honored the quiet night air.
It's going all right. Not that I expected there to be perfect results this soon after getting my body back.
She turned to welcome with a smile.
Did your meeting with the other vessels go well?
It did. Though I doubt they'd have denied my request after all we accomplished,
He confirmed.
As sad as they were to hear it officially, my departure to continue pursuing my memories was welcomed all the same. Between the Sentinels and Imperials, I'm certain they have all the help they need to achieve whatever it is they desire.
Noting the particular silence surrounding them, he quickly added,
I hope you're finding the same success in your own efforts.
They could be better.
She grumbled in disapproval.
Don't know how to explain it, though. I want to be able to do what I need to do without having to think about it so much.
Looking past her to the targets beyond, Selene was greeted with a scene he didn't expect. Though they were indeed littered with arrows, their placements were hardly in line with what he'd come to expect from someone of her skill. Rather, it felt more like the end result of a new company's first group exercise, with all of their nervousness and inexperience on full display through their lack of consistency.
The stress of all that's happened must be weighing on you, I imagine. Is that why you're having trouble with hitting your mark as intended?
No, they're landing exactly where I want them to be.
Caliba corrected, much to his surprise.
I'm trying to miss.
It's intentional?
Selene questioned, uncertain of what he was hearing.
I know I'm not as experienced when it comes to battle, but I'm sure even Flo and the others would be confused to hear this. Is there a specific cause for this approach of yours?
I have my reasons.
She replied matter-of-factly, as she moved to load her quiver with another set of arrows from nearby.
Perfect is the enemy of good, right? So instead of trying to be the perfect assassin like I used to, maybe it's better if I limit myself to something a little more attainable.
I see. And the fog here is meant to help you with your accuracy,
Selene surmised.
or rather, to hurt it in this case.
If only it could be that simple.
Came her ambiguous reply.
There's something more to it?
Though he didn't know why, his curiosity seemed to be grating against her as their conversation continued. Perhaps it was because his distraction was keeping her from focusing on her next, shot. But then again, that didn't make sense given her eagerness to avoid perfection. But he knew her hesitation was there all the same, in the way she briefly glanced at him from the corner of her eye, before appearing to hurriedly dart it away just as soon.
Consider it my way of making up for past mistakes here.
She at last responded.
If I can use this place to throw away the life I knew, then maybe, hopefully, I can finally atone for the one I took.
Selene gave her a quizzical, albeit empathetic look. I'm not sure I understand, he admitted, his eyes scanning through the groves as he spoke. When we traveled through this place together, you saved several lives. The medium was spared a terrible fate at the Hollow Queen's hands, and even our fellow vessel was protected from the dangers of her own guilt. Were it not for your help, perhaps they... His voice trailed off suddenly, as his eyes came to rest upon a particular nook within the treetops that loomed above them. Though to anyone else they appeared as the gnarled and twisted branches that they were, their unnatural curves a telling story of their effort to follow rare moments of sunlight through the dense forest fog. To Selene, it was a photograph that filled in the final missing piece of a returning memory. A sight he had always known, but had blocked out in the chaos of a much more violent moment in time. Wait. I know this place, Caliba. This is where...
Yes.
Selene's dawning realization was abruptly cut off by Caliba's grimaced voice, slicing through the air as it severed their mounting tension for but a moment and forced an uneasy silence in the space between.
Yes. It was. And even if you didn't remember, I never once forgot.
She stared at him, expecting to see a look of shock strewn across his face, or one of hurt, or anger, or even fear. All of it justified as another painful memory was wrenched out of him, and in the process reopened a wound she herself had left embedded in the body that was once his corpse. But what awaited her instead was his calm gaze, his eyes more interested in admiring her own, as he both welcomed and accepted their piercing focus. And it's because you never forgot that I'm now able to remember, he said simply. So thank you. Caliba's vision began to blur through the mistiness collecting against her pupils as she continued to look at him.
You should despise me right now. If you still had your original self, your feelings, your emotions, there's no reason you wouldn't. So why don't you?
Well, you've said it yourself, Selene calmly replied. I'm no longer who I once was. And maybe you're right about how I would have been. But as long as I'm here now, I would rather you see me for who I am, instead of who you'd rather I be.
Then who are you?
She insisted.
Do you even know that yourself?
I'm learning more about it with each passing day. And if you'll permit it, I'd like to be able to share it, both the good and the bad, with someone I trust at my side. The pensive sniper finally broke her eye contact as she ruminated on his request, glancing instead over at the arrows littered across the various targets sitting some distance away. For all her confidence when they were instead stuck in the demonic entity that she hated so much, she hated herself even more for feeling a sensation she wanted so badly to have been rid of at the same time.
I'm scared, Solane.
Being scared doesn't make you weak. It's what makes you human. She felt the touch of Selene's hand against her shoulder, resisting the sudden urge to yank herself away and refuse it as she continued. That you feel it now, as he continued, that you feel it now is the undeniable proof that you've won your freedom after all. So share it with me, and help me remember what it's like to experience that hardship. And meanwhile, I can help you to overcome yours. After a long pause, Caliba reluctantly picked up her bow once more as she felt her shoulder muscles move underneath the light pressure of Selene's hand.
You won't always be around to chaperone me, you know.
She muttered half aloud as she began to nock another arrow.
The demon chose me because it saw I was powerful, because it felt I was worthy. And suddenly, the thing I was known best for became the reason I was such a danger to everyone around me. I refuse to let that happen again.
Selene frowned in concern. You would change who you are, simply to avoid the risk of...
What if that's how I've always been?
Caliba suddenly interrupted. Her bow lowered to her side as her muscles sagged with the same self-conscious worry that tinged her voice.
You saw what happened back in that cave. The demon was outside of me during that entire fight. That means everything I did was of my own accord.
Wasn't that the very reason you were able to overcome its influence?
Yes, but in that moment I was so angry. All I wanted was to see him suffer and for me to be the one who made it happen.
She replied, her words tinged with a venom she almost wanted to inject into herself.
So what if it was my fault all along? What if this is destined to happen again, over and over, as long as I don't keep myself in check? What if...
Caliba was suddenly grabbed from behind, the surprise causing her bow to fall from her hand before she could grab hold of it again. Startled, she looked over her shoulder to see what had happened. To see Selene embracing her in a firm but gentle hug, his thin arms crossing over her chest as his slightly taller figure leaned against her. Anger in the wrong hands is a terrifying thing indeed, he began to say, his voice lowered to match the lessened gap between them. It can blind you to your surroundings and persuade you to reject an inconvenient truth. And if supplied enough power, it can destroy the things we love, even if we really mean to save them, including ourselves. Caliba remained silent, but her body shook lightly against him. Of course she knew what it was like to harm someone you meant to help. The evidence was literally holding her back in that very moment. But anger can also be a wonderful blessing. That I've learned from all of you, Selene continued. In times of stress, it can remind us of what matters most to us. In times of worry, it can give us unprecedented strength to fight back. And when something important to us is in danger, it motivates us to act when fear would rather we run away.
Anger is what led to your death,
Caliba solemnly reminded him. I know, Selene replied, but anger is also what brought me back to life. My refusal to leave this world is what bought the time needed for others to rescue me. And I saw your anger in that battle against the demon. I was the one manifesting it into the cage that prevented his escape. In that moment, you were using it to protect all of us, not just yourself. Her body loosened in his grasp, her hands lightly touching against his arms as they stood there together.
That's why I'm scared, Solane. I'm scared of having all this power. I want to trust that I can control it without letting it control me.
Anger, too, is only an emotion, not a weakness. It's how one wields it that decides the effect it has. Selene tightened his hug against her, assuring her that her presence did not scare him. What a wonderful thing it is, to care so much that we're driven to it by the things that make us feel that way. Your anger and your strength are why you stand here today as you are, and I'm grateful to be here to witness it. Selene felt a sudden resistance from Caliba's aura, releasing his hug out of courtesy as he brought it to her attention. It appears I may have misspoke. I sensed a hint of anger within you just now. Have I said something wrong?
No, you idiot.
Caliba chuckled, wiping a stealthy tear from her eye as she bent down to pick up her bow from the soil.
I'm angry because you're right.
I see. He smiled with relief. Then, while we have access to that feeling, let's see if I can help you direct it to a more worthy opponent. Nodding gently, Caliba once again turned her attention to one of the nearby targets, releasing a slow exhale. She felt her body loosen into a single unified curve that directed all her energy into the arms holding the bow and the string, now pulling back to hold all of her tension for her. As she held it there, she could feel a soft glow, undoubtedly that of Selene's influence, lightly enveloping her frame. A subtle warmth beginning from her core and spreading out in either direction as its trickle erased the last remaining bits of cold worry that lingered on her skin. At the moment it would have reached the end of her fingertips, she fired, and the arrow, whistling through the air without an echo, struck into the bullseye with such force that even its feathered tail refused to wag in excitement as it awaited its owner's approval.
It worked.
Caliba quietly confirmed as she surveyed the results of her renewed effort.
That helped a lot. Thank you, Solane.
I'm not sure what you mean. I didn't do anything. Confused, she looked over at him once more.
What? But that warm sensation I felt. You were helping with my aura, right?
My body's far too frail to conduct my magic on its own. I require my staff to channel it through, he replied before looking aside. She followed his gaze to see that very same staff resting flat against the earth some distance away, the same as it had been when he first dropped it to embrace her.
You sneaky son of a...
Now. It's unkind of you to suggest something about a mother I'm still learning about.
Lying is pretty mean too, you know.
Then it's a good thing I wasn't, he playfully chided. Helping someone doesn't necessarily mean doing the task for them.
Ugh. You and your wisdom are so annoying when I'm trying to be sassy.
Oh wait, nope, not that one yet. Sorry. Continue playing. Feeling another source of warmth, Caliba looked up to see the first vestiges of sunlight beginning to poke through the treetops as morning announced its arrival. She sighed to herself, lingering in her thoughts for a moment more before her voice poked through the dissipating fog.
Hey, Solane. Is it selfish if I still want us to remember how you used to be? Even just a little?
I see no reason why your memories are any less important than my own, he agreed. If it's that meaningful to you, then I'll do what I can to help rediscover them with you.
It's okay if that's all they are in the end.
She added.
It's just that even if I can do this on my own, that doesn't mean I want you going away again. Either we'll remember our past together or we'll create a brand new future instead. But it has to be one of the two. I won't accept it any other way.
I understand. Selene gave a soft laugh, musing himself for a moment, before adding, It's funny. You're just as insistent as she was.
Huh? Who?
Celeste. My younger sister. He smiled. You remind me of her.
Solane! Oh my god!
She gasped in hushed realization, turning around to grasp him firmly in a relentless hug of her own. They stood there together, basking in a warmth that was no longer just from the sunlight spreading throughout the forest, as the birds scattered throughout began to announce their celebration of the new day dawning just ahead. Meanwhile, elsewhere nearby. Ta-da. What's this? Whap. Let me move this. Nope, wrong thing. Close Telegram. I don't want those messages. There we go. Space? We've barely mastered control over the skies, and you want us to travel out where there's not even air? An exasperated Nigel could only gawk at the beaming smile of Wharf Master Kieran, who seemed to take even more delight at hearing the idea repeated by someone other than himself. That's right! Just think about it! We've already crossed entire continents in barely a few years! At this rate, I bet before the end of our lifetimes, we could even start visiting other planets! Your confidence is admirable, but misinformed, Nigel rebuked once more. I understand that your upgrades for Guild Catalyst's airship came in rapid succession, but that was with knowledge of a planet we've had hundreds of years of experience with. And, came the younger male's reply, isn't exploring the unknown what got us here to begin with? Maybe so, but I would not expect us to so rapidly develop a similar solution that would enable us to survive on an entirely different one, much less get there in the first place. And besides, someone has to operate the ship after its launch, no? How do you suppose we'll find someone willing to throw themselves into a potential suicide mission in the middle of a brand new world peace?
Perhaps we could send you out there first as a special emissary.
The sudden comment, paired with a boisterous, unmistakable laugh, came from the iconic Guildmaster as he joined them within the Guild Hall's central atrium.
After all, I hear you're coming up on a deadline to submit one of your research reports. And what better a way than by venturing out into the vast unknown?
Not to mention your incredible talent for sucking all the air out of a room, Kieran added nonchalantly. If it turns out there does happen to be any in space, I don't think anyone else would be better qualified to find it. Oh. I came here to discuss the logistics of such a proposal, a fuming Nigel stuttered out. Not to be mocked over them! But before he could further berate the two, another familiar voice called out to them from across the hall. Are you boys done arguing over there? Or should I let the Outland Count know you're busy bickering instead of beginning the ceremony? Hey, there's the woman of the hour, the Wharf Master cheered, turning the group's attention towards Marnie as she walked over. Looking good, too. But where's Roland? He's just about ready as well. Said he needed a couple more minutes to check something over beforehand, Marnie replied, glancing down and over the formal wear that identified her as the focus of the day's pending special event. It was certainly as elegant, but nowhere near as flexible as her own preferred attire. Far be it from me to interrupt someone while they're trying to prepare for their special day, huh?
Ah, but do not forget that it is your day to be celebrated as well,
the Guildmaster quickly reminded.
Although, if anyone were to ask, I would certainly be honored if you let them know that it was I who helped you both reach your full potential.
As if I'd have told them anything else, she assured him. But I have to ask, is that because you want to be sure you get the credit? Or just because you want even more eager students filling your training rooms?
Both!
The Guildmaster replied, once again with his trademark laughter close behind.
But we can discuss that soon enough. It seems the Master of Ceremonies has joined us at last.
Ah, bless Yggdrasil that our offices aren't right next to each other, spoke the Outland Count as he approached the others. Even at a distance, I worry sometimes about how my windows, or Margarita, can handle the booming of your voice.
Ah, but it's because of the power and inspiration behind this voice that you hired me in the first place, the Guildmaster replied. So take pride in the reward of your well-placed effort.
Indeed I shall, the Count dutifully accepted, before nodding to Nigel and Marnie in turn before speaking to the latter. Just as I shall thank you for following up with me and accepting my proposal. I know this must be a new experience for you, but I hope you can trust I've put this together with only the best of intentions. I'd be lying if I said I was completely over my hesitation, Marnie admitted. But that being said, even if things haven't always been the best for me in this town, you never once led me to feel like I didn't belong here. And sure, maybe the guild and I would have found our way to Yggdrasil on our own eventually, but having your missions to give us incentives certainly didn't hurt. She smiled at him, giving a small nod of her own. I'm glad we're all here today to celebrate a shared success. And it will be an honor to help the rest of Tharsis recognize that, the Count concluded. Now, I do believe we have everything in place, so all we need to do is head out there and get things started. Scanning briefly across their heads, however, he noticed that one member of the group appeared to be missing. Although, where is Roland? I'm here, Count! I'm here! The Rune Master's reply came soon after, as he entered the room in a bit of a huff. He too was dressed in exquisite robes, which Nigel, Marnie noticed, struggled to hide his displeasure with. Apologies for the delay, I just had a small bout of stage fright, is all. Nothing to be concerned about. I should say it is you who has nothing to be concerned about, my boy, the Outland Count said with a chuckle. What's this about stage fright? You have no performance you need to give, or even a report you need to submit. As the new Scoutmaster of Tharsis, your task is simply to oversee the progress of our best and brightest as they reach the pinnacle of their own studies, and in turn, help Tharsis carve out a new era in humanity's progress. Oh, thank you, sir. But I wouldn't give it so much accolade, Roland humbly suggested. Truth be told, I find just as much joy in the process of trial and error as any of the scholars we employ. It's their love of the scientific process that we should be celebrating, not my management of it. And there's plenty more I could say on behalf of my students. Just as there's plenty more I have to say on your behalf, the Outland Count insisted. But no sense in expending the energy on it here when I should be saying it out there instead. So, shall we make our way to the entrance? The people of Tharsis are waiting with bated breath. You heard the man, Marnie played along. No time for self-doubt. Let's get out there and show them what it means to embody the city spirit. She proceeded to pull Roland along as the two of them followed the Count to the entry doors, supported from behind by the Guildmaster's wide grin and a reluctant Nigel's scowl. Neither Marnie nor Roland had ever seen the streets of the city square so filled as what awaited them beyond the doors of the guild hall, once their eyes finally adjusted to the abrupt brightness of the midday sun. Even though Adelaide's introduction to the guild had drawn quite a few interested heads to the area before, by now the deeds and exploits of Guild Catalyst had spread far and wide, and it wasn't just her, but the entirety of their group that had become the talk of the town in recent weeks. The Count, meanwhile, could not have been happier about this fact, his face beaming with pride as he led the two of them towards a podium that had been situated at the top of the steps of the guild hall building's entrance, overlooking it all. It was Roland this time who, noticing the sudden tightness in Marnie's chest as they walked alongside each other, spoke up to try to calm her nerves. Not used to this kind of attention outside of the dancing peacock, huh? I always imagined that if I ran into a mob this size near the edge of town, they'd be in the process of chasing me out, Marnie whispered. So, yeah. I guess you could say this is new to me. Wait until you hear what they've been saying over at the Sentinel Village, then, Roland said with raised eyebrows. I hear the local favorite is about how you dodged the entirety of a dragon's breath while it decimated everything in a half-mile radius around you. I wasn't doing that for show. I was fighting for my life during that. Well, did you dodge it or not? The Rune Master prodded. Marnie's resulting huff told him all he needed to know. Regardless, don't think too much about it. Even if it's not a big deal to you, the fact is that we did accomplish a lot. And hey, everyone loves a hometown hero. You're doing the Count a big favor by doing this, so let him have his moment. I'm sure you'll come to find you're enjoying it yourself too, even if only a little bit. Ah, look at me, being the one getting a pep talk from you, Marnie scoffed. I learned from the best, Roland retorted just as quickly. They stared each other down in playful rivalry as the hum of the crowd suddenly dimmed with the start of the Outland Count's speech. People of Tharsis, thank you once again for taking the time out of your busy day to be here with us in this moment, he began in earnest. As I'm sure you know, your hard work and incredible generosity are what helped to make this city great. And your open-mindedness is what has allowed our fair population to flourish in both the past and present. For that, I want to express my deepest, most heartfelt thanks. For my role as Count has no meaning without you all to inspire me as your leader. And today, I'd like to take a moment to recognize two of our very own citizens for their tremendous accomplishments. So, if you'll lend me your ears, I have a few words I'd like to share. Over the next several minutes, Marnie and Roland listened intently as the Count proceeded to share in great detail the extent of the accolades they were both being celebrated for that afternoon. To his credit, and as grandiose as they seemed to many, his descriptions were as faithful as they were accurate, even as each seemed to surpass the last with increasing magnitude. Marnie, in particular, found herself reminiscing on each of those moments, the Count's words becoming background noise as she thought about her newfound friends, her family even, and all they had been through together. It wasn't until she briefly found herself back in the present moment then that she spotted Roland looking at her with amusement rather than at the crowd. Hard to believe it's all true, isn't it? He said through a smile. So, feeling a little better now? Between you and me, Roland, I still think your little performance back at the Echoing Library was more impressive than this, Marnie cheekily commented, in reference to the spectacle of the celebration happening before them. On the one hand, I do happen to agree with you, he replied under his breath. But on the other hand, I think I'd like to be done with having golden particles coursing through my body for a while. You sure? You look quite dashing when you're in your element. So, without further ado, the Count's voice suddenly broke in between them as his speech reached a fevered pitch. Please join me in giving a round of applause to Marnie and Roland of Guild Catalyst! Well, if that's your concern, Roland eventually said with a confident smirk, then I don't need a life-changing event to get me there. Marnie suddenly caught sight of an illumination building within his hand, but by the time she recognized it as a sword of flame, the Rune Master had already thrown his arm up between them as he hurled it into the sky. The ball of magic split into 3 smaller spheres as it sailed towards the clouds, curving off into different directions as they departed from each other, before all 3 suddenly exploded into a colorful show of firework blasts that shimmered like confetti before wisping out of existence. Any comment Marnie could have made would have been drowned out by the swelling of the crowd's cheer that followed. And so she simply smiled back at him as they turned to bow and wave at the townspeople before them, each holding a hand in unison as their excitement squeezed it, in the same way their hearts were barely kept contained inside their chests. And so, with our adventurers going their separate ways, we find ourselves at the finale of our adventure. Dell, the unbreakable scholar with a mending heart. Adelaide, a lion-hearted warrior with fiery resolve. Selene, the bastard prince with past and future unwritten. Caliba, a stalwart mercenary with the fury of the forest. Marnie, the immovable optimist with unstoppable determination. Roland, the aspirational master with relentless resolve. And Flo, catalyst of a world even beyond his own. Though their stories each started out alone, in time they found themselves woven into a tale of trials, triumphs, and togetherness. Through it all, they came to find what they were searching for, perhaps even in ways they didn't expect. And in doing so, they helped to bring about the successes of those beside them as well. But even though this particular adventure is ending, the next is waiting for them right around the corner. And so too does your own continue, with all that you now know, and all that you will remember. Perhaps across your own travels, you'll discover things you never knew existed. Or maybe you'll be challenged on things you always assumed to be the truth. Perhaps you'll find yourself broadening your skills, empowering yourself as you strengthen your knowledge and efficiency of your unique role. Or perhaps you'll find yourself trying something new, or even changing yourself entirely. After all, who knows what awaits in a world with so much to offer, where nothing ever stays exactly the same. But there's no grand story without its dangers, no victory possible without the risk of failure. But just as any labyrinth has an exit, every obstacle has an answer, and working alongside those you love will make it that much easier to find. So go forth, explorers, and wherever you may find yourself, whoever you may join or be joined by, whatever challenges you may face, with the resolve within your heart and the friends by your side, may your own adventures be legendary. Meanwhile, elsewhere nearby. Mom. I'm here. In a quiet corner of the world, tucked far away from Tharsis, but still within view of the bustling city, Flo sat before the makeshift vigil that served as Naxala's final resting place. The wind that rustled his fur and the leaves of the nearby trees drowned out all else around them. He wondered if within it, her proud mane would have billowed out the way it looked in his memories. And he wished in that moment that she was still there, ready to curse once more at the cold air that pushed against his ears, as they listened to the quiet song whistling through the grass surrounding her grave. Its location was among the last of the moments Teleko had shared with him, before the guiding mentor at last departed himself. But even without his aid, Flo was certain he'd have managed to find her within this new form. Whether it was because of his heightened senses, or their combination with her presence in the mana of the air, her scent was fresh but unmistakable as long as he had focused on her as his target. Now, in front of the unmarked site, it was almost overpowering. And even that seemed to warm him more than the cool air was able to nullify. A lot has changed since we last saw each other like this. Well, I suppose you've been there for all of it, huh? His voice was low enough that only she was meant to hear. And even he wasn't sure if he was addressing the site meant to mark where she was laid to rest, or the place where her spirit actually resided within himself. But it also marked the uncertainty he had in his own words as he struggled to hold a conversation with himself. Listen, I don't really know what to say. I mean, what is there to say to someone who's seen it all, but never got to share how they feel about it? I don't know if you're proud or sad or at peace, or just lonely. His head sunk against his shoulders, his eyes hoping they would catch hers looking back at him as he scanned the cracks in the gray stone before him. I wonder how long you've been alone out here. He waited for an answer that would never come. It made him feel guilty, knowing he would eventually have to be the one to speak yet again. It must have been lonely back then, to feel like no one was able to give you the help you needed when you were sick, and to feel like no one else could take on your burdens once you were gone. I understand why you felt like that was the only solution. So, he paused, giving himself a chance to breathe in deeply once he felt the words catching in his throat. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I forgive you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it required you to suffer so much more. If I'd known, maybe I wouldn't have taken so long to do what you and Teleko asked of me. His fur bristled at the thought of it all, the follicles shaking in anger at the unfairness of a mother who had given so much love, but never had the chance to see it returned. But, he continued through half-gritted teeth, I want you to trust that your effort wasn't wasted. You don't have to suffer anymore. Between everything that I've learned, and the people I have to look after me, even when things get tough, I don't feel alone and helpless. I know what I want, and I won't let anyone or anything get in the way of my achieving it. Confidence in this put his body at ease, his soft coat falling gently back against his frame, as he reaffirmed this promise not just to her, but to himself as well. I also want you to know that as long as I won't be alone, neither will you. I may not be as youthful and innocent as you remember, and I have a lot of new responsibilities in this big and often scary world, but... Once again, the breath supporting his words felt stuck in his chest before it could escape. But this time, he let it pattern his teary voice, unafraid of the frailty that belied his powerful appearance as he spoke. No matter how many times I answer to the name Flo, somewhere in my heart, right next to you, I'll always still be your little wolf. Wolf. The word, in that moment, stirred something within him he had not felt before. A longing to be with his family. But even more than that, he wanted them to be with him, to walk by his side as he showed them the world he had fought for, and the friends he had made, and all he had accomplished in doing it. And if they couldn't come to him, he wanted for his words to reach them instead, wherever they happened to be. As the breath that caught in his lungs began to fill with the pride of his achievements and the loss of those members of his life's pack, his chest swelled with the growing desire to let it loose to ravage the fields with all those accumulated thoughts as they ran free and as far as the wind would carry them. Then, almost as if by instinct, it left. A howl from deep within his core. One that had not last left his body since when he was still but a weaning pup. It was unrefined and unsteady and inexperienced, but it was his, and he proudly carried it through to the end of its every note. As if heeding his call, the motion of the leaves and grass nearby all slowed to a halt, lending their portion of the breeze to him as it pushed out to carry his voice across the vast valley of the windy plains. And only once his breath finally gave out, once the rumbling of his chest at last returned to silence, did the flora dare to once again sway in the gusts that weaved through them. In the minutes that passed, while his strength returned to him, Flo let his world come back into the present as he and his mother sat in the calm together. He eventually began to gather his things, hauling them up along with him as he at last stood up again. But as he looked down to her grave one final time, an unexpected sound cut through the field from behind him. She was never much of a howler either, you know. You definitely got that from her. Flo whirled around, both surprised and concerned at how he could have let someone else sneak up on him in such an empty space. But his initial glare seemed to have no effect on the mysterious man now standing before him, who continued in his casual tone, as if oblivious to any potential threat. Everyone thought she hated how it didn't match her good looks, her proud looks. She was always the strong and silent type. And more importantly, she didn't want you growing up thinking you just had to sound strong instead of working hard to be it. Believe me, her bite was much worse than her bark. As his mother's scent began to fade, Flo's nose started to direct its focus to the one coming from his sudden visitor. His newness to this heightened sense of smell often clouded his thoughts at first, but they were quickly beginning to recognize something about it. You know what my favorite thing about it was? The stranger said with a warm smile, as if reminiscing on a fond memory. It meant it was easy to find each other once we heard it. And we did. Every single time. It was then that Flo realized why that scent seemed so familiar. He had smelled it before, a long time before his mind had developed, in a time long before his mind had developed enough to catch and retain its own thoughts, and before his senses had been forced to adapt in other ways after his form was sealed away. Its particles seemed to seek out those of his mother's that still lingered in the air, not to replace them, but to intertwine with them, before drifting out towards the grander canvas of the valley together. And for just a moment, the world-weary warrior's armor melted away, his hardened expression softening into a youthful hope that he thought he'd long since forgotten, as the lingering child within Flo spoke through his adult body. Dad. This has been the story of ETRIAN Odyssey 4, Legends of the Titan, and the end of my original lore playthrough. My name is Sean Chiplock, also known as sonicmega, and all of this was created by a human being. Thank you for listening.